Nigeria. It now looks that it's a clarion call because even the recent End Bad Governance protest has also drew the attention of government that people really are feeling the heat of some of these economic policies. But away from the issues we've been discussing, tonight we'll be looking at first what steps should government rather take in reforming and in getting the country better. We'll also draw attention on the program tonight. Subsequently, on a second discussion, we're looking at the new national policy on health workers. We'll be having an expert who will be connected with us to give us an understanding about that issues of brain drain in the country and what the policy really means for Nigeria to salvage the situation of many of our health workers migrating from the countries and all of that. It is President Tinubu's policy, and that's the reason we'll be looking at it tonight on the program Big Talk. Now, the president, of course, had earlier promised that he would address the many issues of the protesters. How far and how well? It's a question that we are asking government. It's a question we are paying attention aptly to understand and to look critically to what the government is doing in their own bid to rescue the situation on ground. Most oftentimes, when we sit here to talk, it also, it may look that we're talking things out of context. But I took a walk to the market, going around the cities of Abuja just to get the reaction of some of the hardship in the country. And I was able to meet with a woman who has this to say. Take a listen to our conversation.
The protest is not for trouble, but we are just crying for help. If he can really help, let him come to our rescue. Let him help us. We are tired. Some of us don't even know where to go to. We don't have any helpers. Nobody to help. That is what we want to plead. Let him come to our rescue.
What do you sell? What do you sell?
I sell rice. Look at my rice.
How do you buy the rice now?
We buy it at the price of, if it is foreign rice, we buy it here at the price of 3,100 a mudu. If it is local rice, we buy it at the price of 2,800 a mudu.
Nobody else you've been buying before?
No. From where we buy before, like we buy from last year, we bought at the price of 800, sometimes 700. Some of us, we cannot go to the village. We don't have village to go, and we cannot stay here.
So the thing don't affect your business as well since they started protesting?
Yes. Before, my children was like they will eat, I will say, but now I cook one mudu, I cut it half for sale, and I leave them with half. Even also, I'm not meeting up. We are just begging for help. We are just asking.
So those few days where you been not make sales, the thing may affect your life?
We don't even have food to eat. No food on the table.
So you depend solely on that business?
Yes. And it's only when I sell that is how we eat.
So she actually sells rice, and for the few days of the protest, she had to grapple with a lot of her businesses, having 3 kids at home where she couldn't feed due to the effect of those few days of demonstration. But however, she's actually considering the economic hardship again, and of course the fact that the president has not also addressed the many issues they're having. We do hope that these are the issues that the president must take into consideration, that the economic hardship and some of the policies making is biting out on the lives of both the traders, everyone, literally everyone. She doesn't even have a shop. She doesn't even have a shop, and she's just situated very close to the Wuse market, the fence around the Wuse market, where she's selling some food with just other women who are making sales as well. And that was the reaction when we took to the street to understand better what the people are really going through. And this also sometimes draws to attention of the fact that it is real, it is happening, it is what is on ground. The people are looking for a way of how government and this administration can rescue the situation on ground. And of course, tonight, as I said earlier, we're not going to be looking at the problem. So, what's the way forward? After the protest, what next is for Nigeria? What next is for the Nigerian youth? What next is the president doing to rescue the many situations we have in the country? Tonight on the program, I have Abdullahi Penadu, who recently wrote some articles to articulate some of the things that government must begin to pay attention to, and is live here in the studio to give us an insight properly in a way forward for Nigeria, away from the many issues we've identified in the country. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. Of course, a preacher, and of course, and a leader we want in the society at a time like this. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes. Let me just start with what has been your communication when it has to be with young people who really were not happy about how things went in the country, and probably they just have to express their frustration by demonstrating during the last end bad governance protest?
Yeah, basically, I was on the other side of asking people to be cautious with respect to the protest itself, for the simple reason that it could be hijacked by others. But I believe that in a democratic setting where the tools have been set for people to express their dissatisfaction with the government of the day, and then protest happened to be one of the tools that the democratic system has put in place for people to voice out their disagreements, which, the message was articulate the problems you want the government to address. We have plethora of problems in Nigeria, and then when you say you want to end bad governance, it's vague because it's everything. As far as the Nigerian system is concerned today, it's everything. Corruption has eaten deep into the fabric of everything that the nation stands for. So for us to be able to measure progress in whatever demand we have to articulate and prioritize. When you prioritize, then you are able to understand that, okay, this is of utmost importance. We know there is corruption in every aspect of governance, but we are prioritizing. Government, look at the issue of, for example, security. We know also even the security aspect, corruption has affected look at the security architecture of the country. How do you address this issue? The grievances from the people that have taken arms against the state. How do you go about addressing this issue? And then the issue of unemployment and underemployment, where you have skilled workers working, but not, disguised unemployment. Then you itemize the things that you want so that the government can actually be able to pinpoint on certain things that it could address. And then you can have a sort of system to track the progress of the response of the government with respect to your demands.
You had mentioned about Marjorie's concern in the north, and you particularly called on many northern governors to see what they can do to also address this issue. What is your level of assessment? Because if you look at some of the protests, we saw flags of Russia and all of that. So people were saying, people were not in school. Had it been these kids were in school, probably they wouldn't have been used to, start displaying flags, even when they don't really understand which country's flag is, all of that. Are you saying that upon all the allocations to rescue education in the north, we can't really find improvement in that? In that divide?
Yeah, sadly, allocation is something. Implementing it in accordance with how it's been allocated is something else. So we can easily bring out the statistics of the allocation, the money that has been budgeted for education over the years, but how effectively has it been implemented? That is the question. Now, with the issue of the Almajiris, which we know is a cancer in our society, especially the northern part of the country, where people are not educated. And if you don't educate people, you don't expect them to behave in a civic manner. So the attention of the northern governors that I called on, that they should, as a matter of urgency, summon themselves. They should summon themselves, because it's an emergency. It's something that needs summoning. You know, there is no
Even the
luxury.
governor of Nasarawa State said that
Yes.
is a signal for governors to also be alert on, like he's sitting down like in a time bomb.
They're sitting on a time bomb, and then, you know, it's, come, let's address this issue. There are issues that if you see them, you know, the Almajiri issue, because of the many years that it has been endured in our societies, it's difficult to wake up one night and put an end to it. But you can be systematic in ending the Almajiri system or even improving it, because the initial idea behind it is for education, right? And that is what we are talking about. When people are educated adequately, they won't take up arms against the state. They won't be moving around with flags of another country in their sovereign land. Now, they understand the system. We've had so many conferences. The blueprints on so many things. Is the will to implement that is lacking. Perhaps people are benefiting from the system. So you need a radical that will go against those that are benefiting. It's cabal. You know, you have cabal in the oil sector, you have cabal in the health sector, you have cabal in the security sector, you have cabal also in this Almajiri sector. So you need governors of will that will dare the status quo to implement the beautiful solutions that they've had. Goodluck started it. You have the Almajiri school system that was begun during the time of Goodluck. You need people of will to implement these things and then take these children off the street. At least if you take 10% off in a year, you should have a way of, okay, we have a goal of taking off. First, you start by having the statistics of the people that are roaming the streets. It's going to cost a lot, but government spends a lot on other things that are not necessarily as important as this issue, because this has to do with security. This has to do with the future of the nation itself. So you rescue the future. So the first thing is get the data of these people roaming the streets. Let each state governor do it independently for his state. Get the data of the people roaming the streets, the Almajiris in your state. They are not nuisance. They are product of negligence of the society, of their parents. So now treat them as people that need attention. First, have a statistics, get their data, know their numbers. And then if, for example, I come from Niger State. If Niger State says there are 1 million, for example, hypothetically, there are 1 million Almajiris in Niger State. Okay, what program do we need to take off? Maybe in the next 10 years, we want to stop the influx of Almajiri, but this 1 million, how do we cater for this 1 million in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? And then you can say, yearly, annually, we intend to treat maybe 10,000 of them, educate them, take them to the different the schools, those that need skill acquisition, because it's not for everyone to go to university or the skill acquisition, and then, and then you are tracking, that, okay, we've done this, the next year that comes, you are taking, and then, you are reducing the number while you go to the source of these Almajiris to block the influx of the Almajiris, leave the ones that are there, and then treat them as potential people that will be beneficial to the society that they live in.
All right. In the wake of the economic hardship, the president had introduced palliative just to cushion the effect, and you had touched on that area. You said that palliative is not a solution, but government will always tell you that it's a temporary means to cushion the hardship in the country. What's your concern about that and the position you have about palliative?
The problem with welfare system, government is meant to do welfare for its citizens through subsidizing means of livelihood. But the problem with repeated and consistent welfareism is that it kills the will of the masses to stand up to survive.
All right, let's go on a break, and once we return, the conversations on the program continues. To stay with us. Right, a big apology for the break in transmission. And of course, we are still looking at what is the way forward for Nigeria, what should be done, what should be rescued, which area should be paid attention to, what is the major pressing demands in the country to rescue, even as we speak today, because the people in the street do not understand some of the allocation to governors, they do not understand what it means for government to intervene. They just want a situation where things are working. And of course, my guest tonight is giving us an understanding, better ways to rescue the situations we are. Give me your final take on that issue of palliative. Let me understand, because they are concerned about the issue of the fact that palliative is not workable, because some persons, for over what all the federal government have done, some people say they are not feeling the impact in the grassroots. Is that the situation from your assessment?
Yeah, that's the situation because of corruption. Now, palliative is like taking a painkiller. When you visit a physician, and then you complain of headache, he knows that headache is not an ailment, it's a symptom. So he gives you a painkiller to deal with the headache, and then he sends you to the lab for proper assessment so that he can properly diagnose you and then give you the proper medication that you need. So palliative should be seen as a painkiller. We have a problem, economic mess we're in. When you give palliative, palliative is like a painkiller. But you need to understand why there is need for palliative in the first place. Ordinarily, people shouldn't be given food for palliative if everything is okay, if we have our farming system working, if the security is normal, and then we are guaranteed of our safety of lives and properties, people will go to their farmlands. Today, the agricultural belt in the country is suffering from insecurity, and that is challenging to the survival of the nation itself. So palliative should not be something that should be a thing of, that should be sustained, that whenever there is problem, we give people rice. No.
So what do the people want? What do we want?
Now, people need basic amenities. If the government reach out to the grassroots, which the Supreme Court judgment has paved way for that, local government autonomy. Now, if there is the presence of governance at the grassroots level, and people can go to their farmlands, which is tied down to the issue of security, and people can go to their farmlands, people will at least produce what they can eat. Not necessarily selling out, but they will not depend on government for palliative, because they have their food, which has been the case previously. People go to farmlands and then they produce what they can eat. But because of insecurity, now, so the government should look seriously into the issue of this security, and then also the economic policies, ease things. It's a difficult situation sometimes to make. Sometimes you have to make sacrifice. This is a good policy, but the implementation of the policy will be detrimental to the people in the current situation they are in now. So sometimes you have to make go with it and make certain sacrifices so that, you relax certain things, and then people come back to their balanced situation, and then you can now start reintroducing those policies when people are, but not when people are struggling for survival, and then some other policies that they see as, anti-people policy, because they don't understand the implementation and the implication of the policy. It could be
so are you saying that the government are not properly communicating what they are doing? They're not sincere about what they are doing?
No, it's not an issue of insincerity or sincerity. It's an issue of understanding how best to address the needs of people. It's not what you think is the solution of the people. When you go to the people, understand their need,
what they want.
What they want, based on their peculiar needs, and then provide solution. This World Health, there is community the outreach program that I think that state governments are keying in through the World Bank. I'm amazed because that system is responsive, because they sit with the communities. Each state has it now. I think they build healthcare centers, water facilities, and others. They sit with the communities to ask them, let them write. It's the communities that write to them that this is what we are in need of. This is our priority. This is what, and then they respond to them based on and then they will feel the impact of government. I think it's very important for us to understand the reality of people. We're living in Abuja. It's very difficult to understand what the people living in the rural areas are facing. So your solutions might be elite-based. Because you're living in Abuja, you don't understand the reality of situations. When you go to them, you understand that this is actually what these people need, as against what I thought to be their need. So government should sensitize, make more effort in understanding the needs of people.
We have over 360 House of Reps members, 109 senators in the National Assembly. All of these people were to communicate the challenges, the plight, and the concerns of the people. From your assessment, do you feel that we're having this proper thing? Because the president, we know, cannot be able to touch everywhere in the country. It's difficult for the president to go around the country. People ought to communicate, and now they ought to have, constituency briefing where they're able to know what the people. Do you feel that this is what is happening from their own end? Because the National Assembly seems to also be part and parcel of rescuing the situations we have.
Inefficient representation.
You mean the members we have?
Yes. We are not generalizing. There are some that reach out to their people, but majority do not really understand the problem of their people. And then
how were they elected?
Yeah, they were elected through, financial enticement, as you know. That's it. That's why there is no legitimacy to even proper representation. When people feel that we paid to be voted into positions that we're in, so I'm not going to waste my time to listen to your problems. Do you understand? Because it's a bargain, I've already paid for it. That's
so the people are also the problem.
Yeah, so they see the people as part of the problem. Why are you coming to me when you sold out the votes, literally? So until there is proper process of people getting to whatever position they're occupying, and then they understand the responsibility, and then the people understand the power they have also of demanding from those that they have chosen to represent them, we will not understand the problems of people. Their peculiar problems. So there is need for that engagement.
All right, let's go on a break. Once we go back, we'll finalize the discussion on the program. So stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Of course, this is Big Talk on Global Television, bringing you the highlights of political differences in the country and what the presidency is doing to rescue the situation, which is still a concern among many Nigerians. And the reason why we're having this conversation is look at, away from the issues, what's the way forward for Nigeria? Abdul, before we round up with you, give us a final take, a concern, a call. Summarize briefly what you also want for the fact that in all of what the president is doing and what government seems to be doing that is not working, what they need to pay attention to urgently to fix it.
Well, they need to, first of all, pay attention to the security issue, because everything we're talking about now borders around the security of the nation. If there is security, then people can do so many things comfortably. And then secondly, governance is about sacrifice. Governance is about sacrifice. People need to see sacrifice on the part of those that are leading. The cost of governance is expensive in Nigeria. And then when we are demanding from the masses to make sacrifices for better Nigeria, the masses are equally looking at the lives of those that are leading them. And what sacrifices have you made? So I think there is need for our leaders to be more austere in their approach to governance and their means of living once they occupy those positions. So I think government should look at, I'm not an economic expert, but, the issue of, subsidy, the issue of floating of Naira, all of these issues, they came suddenly, and then they displaced everything that, the largesse that every Nigerian was enjoying. I understand the importance of all of these things, like the removal of the subsidy and other things, but now the gains of the subsidy removal, people are still asking, if those monies are taken away from subsidy, and then they're intended to impact positively on the people, especially at the grassroots level, then there should be some parameters that are set in for people to measure the impact. Yeah, and the government should communicate that, okay, we have saved this amount of money from subsidy, and then we have given it, and then we should understand that, okay, so amount of money from subsidy was used to build so number of hospitals, was used to educate so number of people. I think if there is that system, people will understand more that the sacrifice they are making by buying fuel at higher price is being replicated in somewhere else when they see the impact of the subsidy removal. But when people now say that, okay, this subsidy has been removed, but it's like the money is revolving, rotating in the hands of the elites, and then we are now making the sacrifice, we're paying more for everything, and then why then was the subsidy removed in the first place if we cannot feel the impact of the sacrifice we have made? So government should be sincere and deliberate in cutting down the cost of, amazingly, people love to beam their searchlight on the legislative arm of the government. But as a legislator, how many cars do they have? Government gives them one official car. But you see head of a parastatal, a DG or an executive secretary moving with convoy. That's cost of governance. 5 cars, 4 cars, DG of a parastatal, executive officer of a parastatal, the cost of governance. A member moves around with 1 car. A senator moves around with 1 car. But you see heads of parastatals moving with convoy. But nobody's talking about that. You understand? So these are the things.
They should be deliberate about it.
We should be deliberate about the sacrifices that we are making for better Nigeria. If you're not making sacrifices, and then you're asking me to make sacrifices, and then my sacrifice is funding your lifestyle, then I will naturally feel the need to stand up against you. Because I feel that you're just milking my sacrifice to better your own way of life. So I think government should look into the issue of security beyond rhetorics, look into the issue of agriculture, and then address this issue, encourage it, security first. It's a systematic thing, and then the agriculture so that we can, live less on palliatives.
Thanks so much, Abdullahi Abdulpen, of course, a public affairs analyst, a writer, a columnist who, of course, have been drawing his voices to the issues of the country, and also one thing, the better Nigeria that works for everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on the program, Big Talk tonight. We look forward to seeing you again on the program.
Thank you.
We'll go on a break, and once we return from the break, I'll have a guest, a medical doctor and a public affairs analyst, of course, will be giving us an understanding about the move by the president, by the federal government, to introduce a policy to also curtail the doctors and health workers migrating from the country, and also seeing how they can be able to harness the potential of some of our workers who are outside this country in a way to rescue the situation we have now, because our hospital seems to be empty, we are lacking doctors, and now the president seems to be moving ahead of time to looking at the situation. But the question many people are asking, have they properly addressed the root causes, the push factors? We'll discuss this with my guests joining us via virtually on the program. Do stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us on Big Talk. There is a new policy introduced by the federal government to respond to the ongoing exodus of the healthcare professionals. And there are many considerations and concern about the fact the doctors, when you talk to them and you meet them, they're saying government are not doing enough. And then we'll be looking at this issue, seeing how this policy can really work in the country. Charles Kene Ojukwu, a medical doctor and the public affairs analyst, joins us from United Kingdom. Thanks so much, Doctor, for sparing your time with us on the program. All right, Doctor, if you can hear me, how did you receive the news of the new policy introduced by the federal government, Ministry of Health, to curtail the issues of health workers and doctors, what we call jabbing out of the country?
Yeah, I was delighted seeing that, reading that yesterday. And it kind of gives me reassurance that Professor Pate is actually thinking deeply into solving the issues of medical problem in Nigeria, generally health. And also, this also tells you that the government is thinking. You know, I'm not all about criticism. I like to commend government when they take a step that is commendable. So this particular step is commendable. Now commend it. Crafting a policy is a very difficult thing. And I've gone through to read the press aspect of what they released, because I believe there would be a very bigger work plan book that guides on stepwise implementation of this. So what I was reading was just the snippets we get from the newspapers. I can take them one after the other because I've gone to look at it. And what I can see, they really understand the problem. They captured it, and it is relational. It is something you can recognize. You understand? Now, looking at it this way, they talked about digital health infrastructure, introducing it, telemedicine, comprehensive workforce registry to encapsulate all the healthcare professionals. This is fantastic. This is what we need, and this is the thing in operation in those clients where the people jabba in quote. They talked about capacity building. They talked about continuous professional development, even included international trainings for cutting-edge 21st century practice skills, you know, to diffuse ideas so that they will get the skill on how to deal with the Nigerian problem, having gotten these ideas from the overseas. Then they now talk about the return and reintegration of professionals in diaspora. This is another aspect of it. And if we have time, I'll still go into all of that deeply. They talk about leveraging the expertise of those in diaspora to help move the health system of Nigeria forward. And they were even empathetic enough to talk about work-life balance. I saw that, and I was very happy that they are even thinking about, they have a human face to it. So, and I don't know when we became the AU champion for health resources and community health delivery. I didn't know when we won that award, but they say we are the AU champion for that. But I will drop this aspect of it. If we are the AU champion for health and community health delivery, remember that it was in that same Abuja that they had Abuja Health Declaration Act in the year 2001 or thereabout, during President Obasanjo's government, where they said that all health system, all the countries in the AU, their health ministry should budget at least 15% of their annual budget to health. That is needed to pull the region and the country making up the region, to pull them out of the health quagmire and take them to the next level. If we are the champion, the last time I checked the 2024 budget of health in Nigeria, it was 4.4%. So how are we champions with 4.4% budget to health? Let's start from that conversation.
All right, doctor. Let me now get, we understand that some medical practitioners who have a personal aspiration. We understand some of them who wants to practice are the choices of many nations. And now these are the people who probably are not migrating on the grounds of the fact that they are paying well there and all of that. How do you feel that this policy will meet with the interests of such class of medical and health workers?
To be honest with you, at least 6 out of every 10 medical professionals you see here, they don't naturally plan to be here. They don't naturally plan to leave Nigeria. It is the push factor that pushed them out. Now, if you see, at least 4 out of 10 wants to come back, in the sense of they want to either give back to the society where they're coming from, or they want to find a way to support what is going on in the Nigerian health system, to cross-fertilize these ideas even before the government conceptualize it as a policy. For example, in my own state, Anambra State, I've been part of those that crafted what we call Anambra 50 Years Development Plan. I was invited to come and be part of the subcommittee on health. And I did it without any charge. It's pro bono. I invested my time, and I was the youngest in that team, and I was the one that was practically the houseboy looking after collecting all the works, and we did a very beautiful, fantastic work. Is that not cross-fertilizing ideas? I looked at the system operating here, used it to craft my own section of that document, encompassing primary healthcare development and telemedicine. And it's a document with the state government, which is also part of the document in the manifesto, which is also being implemented in Anambra State today. So we have been doing this thing they want to start doing as a policy now. And as I did it, most other people are doing it in their states. There is a very, very wonderful doctor that introduced telemedicine, practical terms of telemedicine. She is in the US. She introduced it in Anambra State. It's currently being implemented. So these things are ongoing. The point is, the government has woken up. But the question is, let us go to the root cause. Everybody here didn't really naturally plan to emigrate, but they are looking for ways to give back.
All right, doctor. I mean, when we received the news, there were a lot of concern. Much standing is the fact that many Nigerians are saying, if we want to make such a policy, also make policy that some of our political leaders and politicians will also receive health care in this country. It looks that it is the fact that there's a negligence on their part of the situation we have here, our health sector. And they are actually migrating, always traveling abroad to receive treatment. Do you feel that if they make such a policy, there should be a consideration that should restrict people from, receiving probably some treatment abroad, or it will be a way of violating personal and human rights?
Yes, there are 2 legs to it. Human rights. Human rights that cannot prevent a medical professional from going wherever they want to practice. So that policy is not going to force anybody to remain back in Nigeria. Secondly, human right that you cannot force politicians to access their health care in Nigeria. It is a question of moral burden from themselves. But I would like the policymakers to go down and review, say, those that are being funded by public money, if you must access health care, it should be in a public hospital, because you cannot effectively develop what you don't use. If President Tinubu does not access his health care from National Hospital, how would he know that there is no water there? How would he know that there is no light there? How would he know that there are some deficiencies there? I wrote something about Anambra State Teaching Hospital when I recently returned to Nigeria, and I was there. It was shameful. I wrote about it, and I am glad that the governor of Anambra State immediately responded and started doing a facelift and renovation of the hospital, and also awarded contract to build a trauma center there. Why? Because I said specifically, if the governor is coming here to treat back pain, if he has back pain, to treat malaria, to treat typhoid, to treat whatever is the health issue, if he's hypertensive, if he comes here for his follow-up for his hypertension, if he's diabetic, if he's come here for his natural routine checkup, he will understand that this place is smelling. He will understand that there is no water there. He will understand that the road leading to the hospital, there's a big pothole at the culvert, that if you carry a fractured patient there, you will complete the fracture while moving through the cuvert of a hospital. So the public officials do not access healthcare in public health institutions. So why would they know the deficiencies we are talking about? So the policymakers should also go and, you review policies, you edit it. They should go and edit and tell the government and the president that if we have to be truthful to ourselves, it's a moral burden that I, Minister of Health, will seek my health care from National Hospital. It's a moral burden that you, the president, will seek your health care from National Hospital. It's a moral burden that the governors of the state will seek their health care from their state university hospital so that they will understand the complaints of the masses. We will start from there if we truly want to develop our health system. Budget the right thing to health, which is 15% agreed in Abuja, and you use the services. So you have a test of what you give orders.
Do you feel our health sector is underfunded because over 1.3 trillion, about 4.6% of 2024 budget was voted into the health sector? Do you feel that is not enough? Because Minister also in yesterday's interview granted, he said that Nigeria's health sector is the best, that many neighboring countries in Africa are relying on this country, that many people are coming into this country to receive treatment. Do you feel that the funding is enough? And if it's enough, is it meeting up with the demands and the expectation of a population more than 200 million we have in this country?
I will respectfully disagree with Professor Pate on that assertion that our health system is the best. Stop mentioning figures, 1 trillion. No, it's 4.6%. You mentioned 4.6%. There is what we call Abuja Health Declaration. If you can tell one of your analysts to pull it up and tell us what Abuja Health Declaration says, it was done in this country. Why can't we lead by example? Why can't we budget at least 10% to health? Let's look at the countries we are trying to compare ourselves with. The country you want to pull people back from. Do you know the budget of UK in health?
Tell us,
Doctor. It's over 50%. Health and social care in UK consumes more than 50%. And this is the pattern for every other country, Canada, America, and the rest of that. It's about social welfare. This is the work for the people. What are you doing with 4.6% for health? What do you want to achieve? If you have to run a policy in public health institutions, it will be a question of no funding. Why? Because the STEM budget that would have carried it is not enough. It's not about saying 1 trillion to give me to make somebody to have a swollen head. No. Let's break it down to 250 million people. How does it serve their health needs? For them to sit down and feel that 15% is what they will decide in that Declaration Act to give to health. Has Nigeria ever budgeted 15% to health in an agreement made on their soil in Abuja? So 4.6% is laughable. You cannot even mention it anywhere. A serious nation cannot say they are giving for. In fact, this policy is not achievable with 4.6%. Quote me anywhere. Because there are issues of continuous professional development. And those issues, what does it include? The health workers, you have to fund their continuous professional development. Some states are not even paying residency training fund. My state, for example, the Anambra State, they haven't even paid their resident doctors residency training fund. It's part of the fund for continuous professional development, which is not even enough what these guys use to assess their continuous professional training to give cutting-edge 21st century standard health system. Now look at equipment. The money they use to build road, if they use it to establish cancer referral centers in all the zone, it will be enough. The money they steal at the state level and fix. The point is that these guys are not sincere. My fundamental comment with governance is lack of sincerity. So 4.6% is highly underfunded. It's not going to drive this policy because there will be issue of paucity of funds in trickling this down to the local villages. Working countries, United Kingdom, for example, their budget for health is over 50% of the budget for health and social care. So what are we talking about? 4.6%, not even up to 5%.
All right, doctor, you agree with me that many of our hospitals, primary care centers and all of that are really empty. Sometimes we've seen that the few ones we have are overworking, and that's the concern about this. What do you rather would suggest they can do? Because you love this country, and many other doctors who are, of course, migrated out of this country. But what can we do in respect to the situation away from the funding? Because some people will say, some person will argue that patriotism, some people should be patriotic to building the country. Don't you feel so, doctor?
If I blame the government, I will also blame the players running these institutions. The government have their own fault of underfunding. Then the little 4.6% they release to trickle down, people still steal it at the level of these health institutions.
So we have corruption just like every other sector in this country in the health.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's in the health. So you see how this funding does not fully and 100% get to the target needs. It doesn't meet the needs it was meant for, because by the time it gets there, it must have been short-circuited along the way, along the channel. So the problem is, how do we help and make things to work? Our primary health centers are empty and all that. You cannot talk about health without talking about money. For you to keep somebody there so it won't be empty, you have to pay the person living wage. If you keep somebody in a village where the primary health care is, you have to pay the person, aside from salary, rural allowance. Now, if you mention this, they say there's no money. If there's no money, it's because the person that should budget right did not budget right. The person that got the little percentage that was budgeted is stealing some fraction of it. So these are the problem. The health institution manager, some of them short-circuit the funds. Now, the people working at the local level, at the primary care level, and all the levels, they are not adequately being remunerated to give in their best. A hungry man does not give effective services.
All right, doctor. Just before we begin to round up the program, because one of the issues the minister also raised that, is that the policy is a comprehensive strategy to manage and harness and reverse the health workers' migration. Now that you are bringing in this policy, a lot of people want to see that there are reforms in the sector. Just to be able to appreciate this is a fantastic one. And now you've also suggested what they have to do, the issues of corruption we have in the health sectors and all of that. Don't you feel that there ought to be a proper dialogue, a conversation, negotiation that we have, that issue have, other health workers we have in the country? What other concerns?
I can't hear you. Your voice is cracking up there. I didn't get the last leg of your question.
Are the government doing the dialogue enough with the health workers we have in this country? That level of engagement with them?
I don't think the government are doing enough dialogue. They're sitting in the decision-making table, policy-making table to draft this because they feel that they know the issues. And I said in the first place that what they highlighted are relational, but the question is the morality, the moral burden of implementation. They don't have the funds to implement this. Because if they have the funds to implement this, the pay structure for the health workers now is too poor. They have to raise it. Where will the funding come from? 4.6%. If they want to sponsor CPD and include international trainings and all that, where will they get the funding from? From 4.6%? No. If you do this at federal level, how about the states that could not pay? Some states are not even paying 100% of salaries to their state workers. My state, for example, the people in the hospital, I don't think they are collecting up to 100% of their supposed nationally agreed current salary. So how do you talk about this? It's a question of funding. If you tell the people at the state level, say there's no money. How do you talk about continuous professional development when somebody has been owned his residency training fund, which is the money meant for them to go for update courses, go for conferences and the rest of that? So you see, it's just a beautiful policy on paper that is relational, that will address problem, but it cannot fly because there is no funding to push it to fly.
A popular saying, Doctor, that think of what you can also do for your country. Think of what you can do for the nation, not basically what your nation can do for you. From your interactions you have with some of your colleagues abroad and all of that, do you find some of them also concerned about what is happening at home? They're also considering where of also seeing that they can build some of these, they can also engage some of the systems where to get it right, because every day we are losing people in the hospital for one casualty or the rest, and it's a concern. Probably we should not just leave it into the hands of government alone. I understand that the greatest that they are greatest stakeholder in the issue.
Yes, you hear about diaspora funding, right? Diaspora remittances, right? Do you know how much Nigerians pull through exchange platform apps to Nigeria? For example, I'm in the medical field. Do you know how much that transacts to Nigeria? These guys are doing this out of charity for hospital bills, for all whatnot for people. A lot of them are so invested in trying to make Nigeria work. So they are doing their own charity at their own local level. For example, it's a very funny story. I wanted to donate some equipment to my own primary health center in my village. And I asked the manager of my foundation, go there and do facility assessment and ask them what is their most need in that place, because you cannot give a facility what they don't need. I want to see their most need. Look at what I have in mind. I have in mind a health monitor, ECG and the rest of that. And they went there, they went to the guy, they sent the guy upset to go to the local government to go and look for the person in charge of health. But you are the one manning here. You are the one that would have told me this thing, and you sent me to go and meet somebody elsewhere to go and get. See, have you seen how I want to contribute and somebody frustrated my efforts towards contribution? Now, it doesn't stop you from contributing, because the people abroad, they contribute knowledge and ideas. I told you how I contribute my knowledge and ideas in drafting Anambra 2017 development documents. That's about 3 months of my personal time invested in that project. People exchange money every day back to Nigeria. That's why diaspora remittances is part of the exchange earnings the Central Bank of Nigeria talks about. So people in diaspora are doing a whole lot. Some people are funding health foundations. Some people are funding health outreaches. Some people are funding people's hospital bills. The question is, the politicians are the ones stealing it and bringing it back here, while we are the ones making it and remitting it back to Nigeria, while they will steal it and bring it here to invest.
A clear case of robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Definitely, because as we are doing the exchange back to Naira, they will doing you see, you heard about governors. You collect your local allocation, you change it in dollars, you move it abroad. We will earn pounds and dollars, we will change it to Naira and move it to Nigeria. What kind of confused system is that? They will be sick.
A concern for all of us. We are looking forward to building a better nation, and the final, of course, a concern that all of us have a role to play in rescuing the situation. Let me get the final words, Doctor, before we wrap up the program. What's the final word to that consideration before we wrap up, please?
My final words is to commend Professor Partey, the Minister of Health, and ask him, can he take the lead? What do I mean by taking the lead? Can he start assessing his healthcare from National Hospital? Can he come to the National Council meeting of the ESCOs and tell them that I, the Minister of Health, can assure you that National Hospital is the place you can assess your health. Let us, all the ministers, assess our health there and make it an order guiding them, or standing order guiding them. The president signs it. So every minister goes to National Hospital to assess their health. You trickle down the state. Every commissioner and every governor goes to the state. So that way, the ministers, the governors, the commissioners will know what is happening in the public health institutions.
All right. Thanks so much, Charles Kanao Ojukwu, medical doctor, public affairs analyst, Thanks so much for connecting with us and spending some of your time with us on the program Big Talk. We really appreciate the time tonight.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
And of course, that's the size of our program tonight, Big Talk. And of course, looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow with other big political issues of the country and a concern. We are all doing this to get a country that works better for all of us, because this is the only country we have and the role that we have to play in rescuing the situation and fixing the country of our dream. My name is Edikan Michael. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. See you tomorrow.